In this packed episode, I reveal 6 new updates that should give cruise fans like you and me something to celebrate, although unfortunately there is some bad news in here to come later on. So get ready to hear about why the US State Department admits they got it wrong on cruising, why scores of ships are piling back into the US and what's happening, new cruises sailing with passengers, changes in future cruise credits, the worst kept secret in cruising was exposed this week, and in troubling news, why July looks like the month that cruise lines and ports actually think cruising will really return. So first off, the good news. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which we all know, of course, as the CDC, they have not put a no-sail ban on cruising to September 2021, despite the US State Department saying they had. The confusion began not long ago when the State Department updated their travel advice site, travel.state.gov. This happened when the new administration was sworn in, and it said, and I'm going to quote here, the CDC has extended its no-sail order for all cruise ships through September. After being challenged and a bit of to and fro, the State Department and the CDC confirmed this was totally incorrect. The framework for conditional sailing, which was issued in October, that many of you are familiar with, it lays out the stages to go through to resume sailing out of the US. It's still in place, it has not, and there are no plans to replace it with any no-sail order. So that's good news that that's been confirmed. Now, linked to that, the great news is there are now, at the time of recording, a massive 66 ships back in US waters actively working with the CDC through that framework. Now, before this framework was actually put in place, there were only around 20 ships in US waters, so there's been a really big and significant change. Now, I've taken a look at the latest data on who is most engaged right now in the program and the framework with the CDC, and I want to talk about that here. It shows that just under half of the ships are Carnival Corporation ships, with a total of 30 ships now back in the US and working with the CDC. Now, this is a really big, significant ramp up in the last 4 weeks as they had withdrawn all their ships out of the US waters during the lockdown. So which ships are involved? So there's 16 Carnival Cruise Line ships, and more, including their brand spanking new Mardi Gras, is due. There's 7 Princess Cruises ships, 600 America ships, and 1 Seabourn ship, the Odyssey. Now, Royal Caribbean Line has 17 ships, and their sister line Celebrity has 9. So again, that has a lot of engagement. The least engaged of the major groups is the Norwegian group. They have just 3 Norwegian cruise line ships in US waters: Norwegian Gem, Norwegian Jewel, and Pride of America. And they have 1 Oceania ship, Oceania Regatta. And in one big step they made as I record this suggests they are taking a pessimistic view about the United States and also, in fact, Europe opening any time soon. The cruise website cruisecenter.com reported that Norwegian has told the over 1,000 crew that they'd brought back to re-cruise ships at the end of last year in hopes of returning to service. They've told them they're being put back on 2 ships that will sail them all back to their homes in India, the Philippines, and Indonesia. The 2 ships that are going to be used for this repatriation are Norwegian Joy, which is currently in Aruba. They're going to gather crew from ships stationed in the Caribbean. And the other ship is Norwegian Encore, which is currently located near Southampton in the UK. So definitely something to watch. Now, Disney has 3 of their 4 ships back, and MSC Cruises has 2 at the moment, MSC Harmonia and MSC Meraviglia, both of which are due to sail out of Miami. Progress is being made too, with 80% of those ships having successfully passed the very, very first stage of the CDC framework, which is focused on a whole bunch of COVID protocols and different plans for the crew, and they have to do that before they can move on to any other stages. Now, you can track all of this progress on the CDC website, and importantly, I think, have a look and see if the ship that you're due to cruise on out of the US anytime this year is in the program or not, because that could be an early indication on what the future likelihood of your cruise may be. And there's a link to that page in the notes of the episode. Now, in other current good new news, cruising has just, as I record this, resumed after a break during the Italian lockdown over December. Of course, sailings are still going on in parts of the world, mostly the Canary Islands by the Royal Caribbean joint venture Hapag-Lloyd. Hurtigruten is still sailing and has been in Norway. Dream Cruises and Royal Caribbean Quantum of the Seas is still sailing out of Singapore, and there are other small sailings in Japan and Taiwan. But significantly, MSC Grandiosa has resumed sailings from Genoa. They're running 7-night cruises in the Mediterranean, and they include stops in Italy, in Greece and Malta. Now, MSC carried over 30,000 passengers last year on cruises between August and early December, when they had to shut down for a period of time. Now, MSC Cruises' return is really important and good news, because they have definitely led the way in defining all the protocols for the cruise industry, and they continue to do so again with these new sailings. Remember, they were the first major line to restart Mediterranean cruises. It was the first line that brought in mandatory COVID-19 swab tests at embarkation. They had onboard distancing, dining changes, and they also created those controlled cruise line only shore excursions, that little bubble that went out on land. Now, their success and their methods effectively became the industry recommended protocols, the ones that have been recommended in the US, the UK and Australia. But what's important, in response to the changes that have happened in the last couple of months in the way the countries manage borders, where they now require everyone to have a COVID-19 negative test on return to the country, MSC are now testing all passengers on board also during the cruise before disembarkation to meet that requirement. So they're again trialing and showing how this protocol can be done and adapting as things change. So keeping an eye, I believe, on their protocols and how they adjust them and move them is definitely worth doing, because their success is being used as the test case for other countries still deciding how and when to allow it. So really important and good news they're selling again. So it also therefore struck me as really, really significant and probably very intentional that the brand new global chairman of CLIA, that's the cruise industry body representing all the cruise lines, they've just announced their new chairman, and it's a European for the very first time. And that is the man behind MSC Cruises and all of these protocols and plans. So it seems to me like really significant. Pier Francesco Vago, he's the executive chairman of MSC Cruises. He's been appointed to a 2-year term as global chairman of CLIA. Now, he served as the CEO of MSC Cruises for 10 years until 2013 before becoming the executive chairman. And this is where we've seen huge changes in MSC. I think it's really good news that the chairman has the direct experience and credibility of working with governments, their agencies, and of course cruisers and agents to get cruising successfully returning, while of course meeting all and addressing all the concerns of cruisers, everybody involved. So I think that's a really positive step. Another great development announced in recent days as I record this is that lines are increasingly letting cruisers combine their future cruise credits against payment of one single booking. Now, that's something that I had not really realized you could not do in most cases. You couldn't combine different future cruise credits against one cruise. So many lines would only let you apply one future cruise credit certificate towards one cruise. But as cancellations have continued and people are starting to build up multiple credits, some of the lines have started to lift and ease this restriction. Now, the biggest announcement on this came from Royal Caribbean, who recently announced that they will now allow guests to combine multiple future cruise credits towards one single reservation. So I recommend you check very carefully before you take future cruise credits for any more cruises cancelled, particularly if you've already got future cruise credits with one cruise line, to see if your line allows this. It's really important, because if you've got one or more cruises cancelled with that line and are holding credits, you need to know that you can combine them if you need to. But of course, it's really good to see that lines are starting to add another element of flexibility, or along with things like easier moving of dates, shorter final balance payments, and importantly, the ability to cancel for future cruise credit up to 48 hours before sailing. Of course, that timeline depends a lot on the line. But you know, before you had a lot of risk with booking, and now there's lots of flexibility. So seeing this new flexibility on future cruise credits is another important thing. But do check what your line specific rules are, because they do differ. Now, as discussed in my last update, Azamara is in the process of being bought by Sycamore Partners from the Royal Caribbean Group. Now, I mentioned when I spoke about it that this could really be an exciting time for fans of the line, because it stopped being what I think was becoming a neglected sister in that overall big group, and it now has an owner who surely has bought it to invest and build it. Now, this was confirmed with the news that they have bought Pacific Princess. It's the same R-class type of ship as the other 3 Azamara ships. The ship will leave the Princess fleet and is going to undergo a total refit and enter service in Europe in 2022. So it's great to see a line that looks like it's going to emerge from the shutdown with new owners new ship, new plans, and really energized rather than all kind of the bad news we have about disposals and that kind of stuff. So that is the recent good news. Now let's talk about some of the less cheerful developments and what they mean for you and I as cruisers. Now first off, as you already know, most of sailings out of the US and places like the UK, they've been blanket cancelled until May, although I think we're all expecting this date is going to drift further and further back. Port Canaveral has added to this whole feeling when in a recent financial update, they said they only expect ships to start sailing from there in July. And they're saying they expect only 3 lines sailing just 1 ship each. And they expect a couple more ships to be added in the months after that. But what's important to note is behind these blanket restart dates, we're seeing much more specifics of the kind of the form that resumption is going to take, because in each of the announcements by the lines, they're getting much more granular, much more detailed. And in all the recent updates, the lines are starting to lay out ship by ship restart dates and are already delaying some of the ships well into the end of the year and some of them into 2022. So a good example of what I mean is Carnival. They'd announced they were cancelling to May, but they've now done another announcement where they talk about some other changes. So they talk about Carnival Magic, Paradise and Valor. They're cancelled to the end of October 2021. Carnival Miracle sailings from San Diego are cancelled and the ship will now be based in Long Beach. Sailing routes originally planned for Carnival Radiance. So you can see what I mean. These very detailed, specific ship by ship plans. The CEOs of all of the lines have always said that the return of cruising will be staggered. It won't be that big bang date that we kind of all focus on. So expect future cancellations to have more and more ship by ship detail and changes. And what you need to start to do very carefully as these announcements come out is look at what very specifically is named for your ship. Don't focus on that big return date. Now, I've been asked a ton of questions to update again on this particular topic of vaccines. Now, in the last update, I spoke about Saga Cruises' decision that all guests would have to be fully vaccinated before sailing with them. And I've had loads of questions, but I think I'm going to give you a couple of headlines because I think there's 4 important things you need to know based on what research I've done and what I've read. Number 1, no other line has made a decision on vaccinations either way yet. Although the lines have all confirmed, as I mentioned last time, it's being considered, it's being looked at. Now, surveys and studies show this is a really popular move with most cruisers. The most recent one is Cruise Critic. They had a poll of over 3,000 people. 81% supported a vaccination requirement. The second thing to note is most lines have said they hope that all crew can be vaccinated, irrespective of the decision they make on passengers. How they do that, of course, is going to be a challenge. Thirdly, the vaccine requirement could actually be out of the line's hands and control. There's a lot of expectation building that countries might require visitors to be vaccinated to enter. So of course, cruise lines will have to do that. Some airlines are looking at requiring it, so people would need it if they're going to fly to join cruises. The fourth thing is testing will, though, still be part of the protocols, certainly until it's known if vaccines stop transmission. So Saga, for example, still have testing even though they have that vaccine requirement. I hope you found this latest update interesting. I have loads more Tips for Travellers episodes packed full of cruising updates and tips. So why not enjoy another one right now?